All right, I think we are live. Hello, everybody. We've got a very full house tonight, which is exciting. Thank you all for joining. Uh, so this is our live show celebrating the end of the first Queer Romance Readathon, which was really fun. Thank you so much to all the co-hosts. You've all been amazing. I know we've all been busy this week, but we've tried to make sprints and everything happen. So I thought, why don't we go, I guess, zigzag and people can introduce themselves and their channels. Everybody is linked down below if you don't already follow them, but just kind of, I guess, your name, where people can find you, a little bit about what you do, and how did the week go for you? Kind of quick overview. And Dylan, you can start.
Sure. Hi, I'm Dylan. You can find me as Dynamic Dylan pretty much everywhere, on like TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. This week was pretty good. I was kind of busy this week, and I read a lot of manga mostly. But I had fun. It was good.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm from the channel Pucks and Paperbacks. I make videos about books like queer lit and trans lit and also sports books. And I had a pretty good week too. I read a novella, I read a graphic novel, and then I read the group book, and everything was just fine. Like, I didn't find anything awesome, but I still had a good time.
Me or Neeks?
Izzy, we'll just kind of like loop.
Okay, I was like, I didn't know if we were looping or
Yeah,
where we were going.
I know.
So I was like, I ran to grab a book because I realized I was like, oh, I should grab the book I was going to talk about because I actually have it. Hi, I'm Izzy from Happy for Now. I talk about romance, a whole bunch of manga on my channel. You can find me as that on YouTube and other things linked on that page. And I also do Chapter 3 podcasts with Bethany. The best thing I read not the best. I read a lot of really great queer Black love this week, specifically Leading Sapphic, that I loved. But I read Chef's Kiss, this graphic novel, which is about two cute little guys who are chefs falling in love, and it was just so precious. And there's a pig, and it was adorable. So it was my highlight. I read this Saturday or Sunday, and I was just like, why is this so cute?
I love it.
Hi, I'm Michelle. You can find me over at Thor Wants Another Letter. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. The highlight of my week was trying to figure out where on my university campus to actually read, because not only were there squirrels everywhere, but it was very windy, also cold. But I did read, this is a different Chef's Kiss. This has my brother-in-law got me this book, and it's a non-binary protagonist and / love interest, and then a bisexual main character. And then my other highlight was just getting to talk to Alex this entire week about what we were reading, and the miniature emergency sprint that I did because I completely dropped the ball on Tuesday.
Listen, things happen. This is a very chilly readathon, so
literally woke up Wednesday, sat up and was like, oh, I forgot the sprints.
Okay.
You were very panicked in the group chat too. It was. Yeah. My name is Meeks. My channel is YouTube/Neeks. My brand has become Gush About Books, Talk About Writing, and Talk Shite. That's fun. But my highlight of the week was the group book. I absolutely adored it. And then I got sick over the weekend, so I just did rereads because I was just I'm not doing anything new, and I could get through rereads really fast. And I reread Cemetery Boys because it's my fave thing on the planet. We Became the City, and something else, but I'm forgetting. I don't know. I think I read Merciless once, which is surprisingly queer, which is amazing. So, yeah, it was a great time. I really loved it.
I love it. Tamika.
Hi, I'm Tamika. I'm from Tamika's Library. My entire brand is talking about how gay I am and all the books that I like to read that are gay. And if I didn't say that, Izzy would have immediately said something to me. So, um, yes, you would have. You literally tell me that all the time. It's my personality. Anyway, I read romance books and manga. And the highlight for my week was actually a sapphic manga, which is not shocking. So.
That's awesome.
It's not shocking at all.
Least surprising share of the entire.
Least surprising
So
share of
far.
the entire group.
I was going to say, Ashley was going to say it for me. We all know your brand. It's fine.
Yeah, we know
It's
it at this point. Hey y'all, I'm Ashley, Bookish Realm. This is funny. I actually did not start reading for the readathon probably until about Friday night because my job is extremely demanding and I had a lot of stuff going on last week. So the weekend was kind of my time to get some reading done. I ended up reading quite a few novellas in addition to the group book. It was one that I finished last night that I really enjoyed, which was a queer retelling of Cinderella with a Black trans main character. It ended up being really, really interesting. And there's 3 books in the series. I think the third one comes out, I think next month, either at the end of this month or next month. And it was cute. It was so cute. The cutest thing ever. I ended up continuing How Do We Relationship, and y'all, it was so toxic. Like, it was extremely toxic, and Izzy already had warned me about the possibility of it taking a turn for like a left, and
Oh no.
yeah, but it was a good weekend reading experience for me since I didn't really get the chance to read during the week.
Hi everyone. Most people may know me as Adri. I have a channel called Perpetual Pages here on YouTube, which I've been doing since 2013. So I'm going on 9 years this November, which is a lot. Posting a video a week for 9 years is a lot. And I read pretty much everything, mostly queer stuff, obviously, mostly not white stuff. And yeah, across any age range, any demographic, any medium, if it's good and interesting and mostly queer and not white, I will read it. So I had a pretty good reading week. I read like 3.5 things. The first thing I finished was A Million Quiet Revolutions by Robin Gao, which is an amazing sort of under the radar T for T romance, which is awesome. And then the group book I read. And then I also read this little novella that I hopefully will get to talk about later called Exodus 2030, which is like a queer Mexican trans man falling in love with one of God's original creations, which was amazing. And then I started She Drives Me Ableist Sea Slur by Kelly Quinlan. So, which I'm going to try and finish tonight if I have the energy. I may not because I worked a 10-hour shift this morning at 1 a.m. and I'm very tired. But that was my week. So it was good overall.
That's great. Yeah. So I'm like, I ended up getting a cold over the weekend, so I'm now kind of dealing with that. But I read like way more than I was expecting to, especially because my anxiety at the first part of the month, I read so little. And I was just like flying through audiobooks. So I read a lot of things. So yeah, I had a really good time, and we'll talk a little bit specifically about some of our kind of highlights or surprises for people who want to share them. But if people want to drop things in the comments as well, feel free to do that. Hi to everyone. I am seeing your comments. There are so many people on live today. I probably will not get to all of them because otherwise this would be excessively long. But yeah, somebody was like, The Merciless Ones is queer, apparently. Yes. And a lot of love for Cemetery Boys. So yeah, I had a good time and read some stuff that was great. Someone wants to know what the Cinderella retelling was called.
Ella.
Ash. Ella? Okay. Do you know the author?
ST, it's a pen name. I believe it's ST Lin. Yeah, ST Lin is the pen name of the author. And then the next book after that is a Little Mermaid retelling. And then the third one is going to be a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And each character is Black and trans.
That's great. Okay, so I know some people have kind of shared, but if you want to anymore, if somebody wants to share, I guess let's go with anything that surprised you. If anybody has anything that was like a surprise.
I was surprised by Drag Me Up. Like, I'm still thinking about it. I think it was just a beautiful, because I hadn't read, despite me being mutuals with RM on Twitter, I had not read their books yet. And like, as someone, I love them as a person, but to read that as their debut novel, I was like, this is genius.
Yeah.
The hold that RM has on the romance genre and what they were trying to do in that book, genius. I'm like, I've been thinking about it for days.
Yeah, that's part of why I picked it, because I'm also mutuals with RM, and I really wanted. I hadn't read either, and so I really wanted to. I'm glad it was a hit. I liked it too.
It's beautiful.
I was actually kind of surprised at like how emotional it made me, especially with like, you know, some scenes with Persephone, like just wanting to be seen like that. I was like, oh my, like literally was sitting on my chair and I was like, don't cry. You have been emotional for like the past like week. You don't need to cry. But I promise y'all, like there were a couple of times where I was just like, I was not expecting my heartstrings to be tugged the way that they were, because, you know, I go in and I'm thinking like Hades and Persephone retelling, which I've read before, but RM just put a different type of emotion into it that I don't think I have seen just yet. Just the way that I think that anyone could just really, for people who feel like they've never been seen, that book is a hell of a book to connect to be honest with you.
Yes. And the way Persephone talks to Hades in such a blunt way, like, you are not your brother's, your brother's not your child, you know?
Yes, those words were so powerful. The way she sets boundaries and the way she's like sort of validating and affirming Hades. I did not like expect that from an erotica novel, which like maybe that's on me, but that was incredible, truly.
Yeah.
It showed such a understanding and like a skill level of writing and emotional writing, and it was
Neeks, we need to continue the rest of the series.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta continue it.
I do.
I feel like I had the same thing. I had a moment where I was nearly crying over it, and I was like, "Why am I crying? Why am I getting teary?" I do not cry in books. I was like, "No." But it's just, it surprised me too, because I've read RM's other work, like "Sing Me to Sleep" is one of my favorite books, which is his sleep paralysis demon. It's just like banana pants. Like, highly recommend. Go in, like, check the content warnings. Obviously, I cannot list them here off the top of my head, but you know, there's some consent, non-consent. Like, it's a sleep demon. There has to be. But I loved that book so much, and it was so different. And then to read this, I was like, all right, we're in. I am a fan. We're good. Like, we're sold.
I think that I'm not sure which is the next one, but I do know that Dio's getting a book, and I'm really excited for that one. So, but I don't know the order of them.
I really liked. Yeah, well, that's the thing too, is like all the characters were so good. I'm impressed that it's an indie debut. Honestly,
I was shocked it was a debut.
Yeah.
It just reads so too well.
Well, and he clearly knows mythology,
Yes.
like, which is cool too. Because sometimes those Hades and Persephone retellings, I'm like, okay.
I was just, and it was interesting because I was just looking at RM's thread in relation to some things that have been happening with people writing retellings without having read the original work. And so it was, I just happened I mean, I have to do it because I mean, RM deserves all the respect and credit because it's very clear through the text that he did the necessary research in order to write this book.
Yes.
Like, no hiccups. It was just the weaving in of all of these mythological characters and the personalities, just like there was some research clearly that was done. So it was just interesting, like reading the book and also keeping my eye on that conversation that happened about people like, oh, you know, I've read retellings of it, so I'm just gonna rewrite. I'm just gonna write another one without reading the source. So, and you know, I think that he definitely deserves a respect with that, especially because, as he was saying, the authors of color would not get a pass on saying like, oh yeah, I didn't really read the source material, but I'm just gonna write the book because I feel like writing it. So, a lot of respect there.
Yep. I mean, do we want to just go ahead and talk about Drag Me Up, or do we want to talk about like we can?
I'm so sorry. I'm just obsessed with it right now.
No, I love it. I think it's a good book. Yeah. We can. I'm happy to go either way if we want to talk about like surprises and like hit like things that we liked beyond that and then move to it. We can, or we can just do it the other way.
I'm good either way.
Okay. Does anybody have another book that they wanted to talk about before we jump in?
I have one.
Okay, great.
So I read 1500 Miles from the Sun by Johnny Garza Villa.
Dylan, you can't just bring that in here without.
It was so good.
It's so good.
It was amazing.
To anyone who hasn't read Johnny Garza Villa, like literally get out of my face. The audacity in 2022 to not have read Johnny Garza Villa is a mistake. Go on.
I know, I'm not a mistake anymore.
Apparently, I'm currently a mistake.
Oh my God.
I'm a mistake too, so you know.
Am I immediately on Amazon on my phone? Maybe.
Oh my gosh! So I listened to the audiobook, and it was so good. It's by the same reader as Cemetery Boys, which they are so good. I love them. And this book, I listened to a lot of it yesterday, which was a very like emotional day for me because it's Father's Day. And I got to like, I won't spoil, but if you've read it, I got to like the later half and I was sobbing like bad. I like cried all day, but it was so good though. I loved it. I highly recommend it. So good. Oh my gosh.
That's great.
I can talk about one of the novellas I read, Long Walks on the Beach by M.L. Sexton. They're a newer author. They just started writing this year. It's Black Love, Sapphic. And I was very surprised. Like, these are very short novellas. This was a marriage in trouble that was pretty good. They were like in the process of separating. And similar to another book I like by Christina C. Jones, the ex-wife, one of them, decides to kind of crash a trip this person's on and not telling them who they are and force them to be together so they can fix their problems. And I was just like, yes, this is the most romantic thing ever. I mean, I probably would be livid in real life, but in book form, I love it when they're like, no, I'm making you spend time with me and we are sorting this out. And they did. And it was just delightful.
Never, Erica. You're never good to me.
I had like some that were really interesting because I read from authors I hadn't read from before this week, which was fun. One that I really liked was Femme Like Her by, oh gosh, okay, what's the author's name? I'll pull it up. But I don't know. I wasn't sure what to expect. Fiona Zeddy, it's an indie Black love lesbian romance. And I wasn't sure what to expect because I don't always love romances that get hot and heavy like immediately. And this one did that. And I was like, I don't know, this might not be for me. But then it just was so good. And like the character growth was there, the relationship I was rooting for by the end of it. And it also did just a really good job, I think, deconstructing like assumptions people make about like relationships between women having to be one person who's more feminine and one person being more masculine, that's not necessarily the case, and like pushing back on harmful stereotypes of bisexual people and like the way that gets handled in like lesbian communities and stuff. So there was just like a lot of depth and it was really good.
I love her. She's Jamaican born. So
Yeah.
shout out for doing that during Caribbean American Heritage Month. Bonus. I read The Magical Femme, which is the prequel to what you read, and I've been dying. I've been
Oh,
dying to dive into it. So when I
it's
saw that you had
good.
read it, I was like, yes.
It's good. It's really good. I want to read more from her. It was really good.
What did you say the title was?
Femme Like Her.
Who's it by?
Fiona Zeddy, Zedde.
Great, thank you.
I have to shoot my shot if we're not going to come back to this, but I have to talk
Yeah,
about
no.
Exodus 23, excuse me, by Fredes Moon, who is a non-binary biracial Latina author. And this is like a little short story, and this healed my religious trauma. That's like my tagline for it. It's about this Mexican former delinquent who's like doing community service, and his mom signs him up to go like volunteer to rebuild a cathedral in like the middle of nowhere. And the guy who owns the cathedral, like I said, turns out to be one of God's original creations, and they end up like falling in love with each other. And like this book made me blush. It healed my religious trauma. Like it was just so good. There's just so much in here about like recognizing trans divinity, which I think is what was so powerful about it for me, because like both of these characters are like characters who embody transformation and the act of creation. And so like to have this like angel essentially being able to recognize the main characters, like the power of them to be able to like create themselves and to be able to become the person they want to be, and to like recognize like there's a holiness to it, and like that link between like how transition is basically an act of faith, maybe not the kind of faith that we learn about in like institutionalized religion, but an act of faith nonetheless. So to see all of those things paralleled and like come together in 70 pages, like I'm so mad that this is like the only thing that Fredes Moon has written so far. Like they have another book coming out later, I think this year, that I'm like, give it to me now. Like this is like a 70-page book, and I have like 50 annotation flags in it. Read this book, please. Exodus 2030 by Fredes Moon. I'm begging you, anyone and everyone, please read this book.
Beautiful.
It does have erotic elements though, so if that's not like your thing. But
I think I have it on my Kindle. I just haven't read it yet.
Thank you for reminding me. It is on sale for Pride Month. The Kindle edition $2.99, and I think the paperback edition too is $7.99. So it's on sale.
It's literally sitting on my Kindle.
Yes.
Like
yeah, I know mine too. It's on my Kindle also. Okay.
And it's blurbed by R.M. Virtues, which was like it felt like very. I was like, really? Like it just feels connected. It was the right moment.
I love it. I have like another one I can talk about, but if other people have things that they still want to share, I don't want to like jump in again. So feel free.
One of my favorite manga that I read for the readathon was this one. The two of them are pretty much like this. It's a sapphic romance that's really, really beautiful. It's just a very soft and like realistic, warm read about these two women who live together, and it's really, really sweet. I loved it.
That's cool. Love it. So I just today finished reading for the first time something by Cole McCade, who I'd been meaning to try for a while, and it was really good. So this was part of, and it would fit for the Karina Adores line prompt too. So just like this, it's set at a boys' boarding school, and it's between two faculty members. So the kind of grumpy big football coach and this like super artsy, like the art dance teacher. And so it's two men. What I think is interesting though that I wasn't expecting is there's this whole plot line where the football coach is indigenous but was adopted by a white family and has been wanting to like reclaim that heritage, but like has like struggled with that, and so like that's a whole part of it, and they're both working together to try to help a student where they think something's wrong and they're trying to figure out what it is. And it's beautiful. The writing is gorgeous. Like just the descriptions, it's so emotional, and they have this just like lovely relationship. It was really good. So
Really quick, because I'm going to kick myself, I forgot to mention that the main character of this book is Mexican and trans, and they've had top surgery and they're on hormones, which is like really important to me as a Mexican trans person who's had top surgery and been on hormones. So if you're looking for that, is also in that book.
that's awesome. Okay, cool. So it's Just Like This. It's book 2 in a series. I haven't read the first one, but Just Like This by Cole McCade. And yeah, it was really good. Anybody else have anything else they wanted to talk about?
I have one that I didn't get the chance to finish reading, but I thought was really interesting, which was Home Within Skin by Gem Zero, which is a male alien romance with one of the characters being trans. And I got to start it, but I didn't have the chance to finish it. But so far, it was really, really interesting. If anybody's interested in, because I was like, I want to try something that's a little sci-fi, paranormal, but I didn't get to finish it.
Wait, did you say there was an alien?
Yeah, so the main character is trans, and they end up meeting an alien that then becomes a love interest.
Malka is on all these titles and authors. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's great.
Oh, I started Harbor by Rebecca Weatherspoon. I think it's just called Harbor, and then it's part of a series called Beards and Bondage. Yeah, I think that's correct. But it's a
You've got it right. You're good.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was like the first part and then Harbor, or Harbor and then the next part. But it's a poly romance, and I got to about halfway, and then I just died over the weekend. But it was already super cute, obviously steamy, but it was still super cute. And I like a good poly romance. So if you guys are looking for like a nice MMF poly situation where it's not like objectify-y, I don't know how to like explain it beyond that, but it didn't feel like wrong to read. It just was really cute.
It's not like fetishizing it or something. Like
that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, like I guess the one other thing that I wanted to mention, if nobody else has anything else, I read a book that like I had heard mediocre things about, and I freaking loved it, and I think the marketing was bad. So, Sorcerer of the Wild Deeps by Kai Shante Wilson. It was marketed as like an African-inspired fantasy, and it's kind of not. It's a sci fantasy. And I think a lot of the issues that people have with it is that they're expecting it to be like an alternate world fantasy, and it's not. Like, if you read the subtext, you're dealing with like alien beings with technology that feels like magic to humans. And I thought it was so good. The writing was beautiful. I thought the way that he played with linguistic stuff was so interesting too, because the humans use AAVE, but the main character is like I would say like an alien basically, and in his head and in the narration it's like academic sort of English. And so it's really interesting because you get this like code switching thing. I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was really interesting. And it's got this beautiful like love that he has for his captain. So this like gay romance, and it's excellent. It is you do have to pay attention because thank you. It is like very much read between the lines. It's literary sci fantasy. And I don't think it was marketed accurately. It has a lot more in common. Like I feel like it's drawing on things like Gene Wolfe, if for anybody who's read Gene Wolfe. So yes. Oh, good. I haven't read the sequel yet, but I want to. So Andre, have you read this? Because I see a lot of
Yeah. I read Sorcerer of the Will Deeps, but not the other one, which I think is A Taste of Honey,
I think so.
if I'm remembering correctly. So yes, I just like everything you said I agree with. But like, yeah, if you want to read a book that's like stunning but will also make you feel stupid, absolutely read Sorcerer of the Will Deeps. Like maybe that's not a good sell, but like that is the truth of it. But like
I mean,
once you get into the flow, it's one of those things where like you just have to trust the writing because Kayashante Wilson knows exactly what he's doing. So as soon as you trust it and get into the flow of it, it makes its own kind of sense once you're actually in the world building of it. And then I just think the romance between the main character and his captain is like, it's like one of those romances where it's like the one person is like loves the other person in the way like looking into the face of the sun sort of thing. And it's like, God, it's so good. It's so good.
It's
I'm mad
really,
about it.
it's really good. It's beautiful. Yeah. And it's a novella. Like the level of world building, like the richness of the characterization and world building in a novella. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Anyway, I'm now obsessed.
I'm definitely gonna check that one out. It sounds fun.
Okay. So if nobody else has something else they want to talk about, we'll talk Drag Me Up. But I want to like last call.
Okay. So while I read this and I did rate it like a 4-star because of like I feel like this was too much of a like focusing more on like how someone who's cis feels about someone who's non-binary, and I feel like this book would have benefited so much had it actually had POV from the character who's like talked about the most. And also I thought there was going to be like some kind of romance. I thought there was going to be like kissing within, you know, somewhere over here. No, we were like towards like right in here when stuff started to happen, like at the very almost end, and I was like,
no,
what?
Unacceptable.
Like there wasn't even like kissing or hand holding or like soft vibes. It was just like, we are friends, 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 and now we're gonna fuck.
Oh no.
Alex knows.
I'm like, that sounds like either ultra slow burn or just very bad.
It sounds
I don't know which one.
It's a DNF for me.
It was very slow burn.
Yeah. That makes, I haven't read it though, so yeah. I haven't read it, so like I can't speak with any sort of knowledge or authority, but like what you said about how the story feels like it focuses more on like cis feelings feels very accurate to me. I think there is, I don't want to say this because I don't want to like belittle it, but I feel like there is a trend or the beginning of a trend in adult romances where it's like female non-binary love interest, and it's like I don't know if that's being handled correctly by everyone who takes it on. So
like the love interest, like the bisexual main character is just like so worried about like using the wrong pronouns and like saying the wrong thing or like and asking her friend, and I'm not sure if the friend was white or if the friend was black, but I think that the friend was black, and so it just feels like, you know, and I just like I was so mad when we got to the end and then that happened. I was like, why wasn't this a contemporary of no romance? This could have just been a contemporary, no romance, because we got like this much.
Sounds like it.
I was highly dissatisfied.
It sounds like you were personally like attacked by this book. It's making me laugh.
And you gave it 4 stars.
Just a little bit. Just a little
I
bit.
appreciate Michelle reading this and then letting me know that it does indeed take until the very end so that I don't pick it up. Because I would just be like, where is it?
Like the love
Where is the kissing?
Like soft, happy bean, cinnamon roll, non-binary babe, but like we didn't get their side of things, so it was I sad.
I'm about to cancel my hold.
Honestly, I agree.
Honestly, because it's on hold right now on my Libby, and and it was like a 6-week wait. I could put something else on hold for all of that.
Renee, I agree. This sounds like less than 4 stars, Michelle.
I'm amazed that you gave it 4 stars. I'm also reconsidering reading.
I wanted the non-binary love interest more than I wanted this.
Michelle, you're too nice.
Character.
Too nice.
Too nice. Too nice.
Yeah.
It's true.
I would have been like 2 stars.
I will say though, like if you want an alternative, that you should probably read Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly, which has a similar premise of like cooking and baking, but with another female bisexual main character and a non-binary love interest.
I literally had it in my hands, but then I was like, oh well, I just
that one has more spice.
So I'll take it back. No, that was dumb. That was
You made the wrong choice.
idea.
It's okay. We all make mistakes.
You did make the wrong choice. I didn't know you had it in your hand. I'm very sad for you.
Now I'm gonna read it and be like, this is how this was better than this. But thank you for the book recommendation.
I had to try to find the silver lining. So like if you want an alternate romance about 2 white queer adults. There's that one.
I'm done. I am done. I am done. I am done.
I mean, it's like, I don't like to say this, but it feels like it's literally a substitute for that because they're both white and there's a female bisexual love interest and
I mean,
the
it's
non-binary
pretty
person is assigned female at birth, but like, which is like a trend in all these adult romances. If there's a non-binary person, they have to be assigned female at birth. Like, I'm just having
why? Yeah, why is that? That's
because non-binary people who are assigned male at birth don't exist.
Oh my god!
According to the publishing industry.
I just okay.
Michelle, I think it's time to just make this a whole video. I think we need
Yes,
a video.
really,
I think it
I
needs
mean,
to be a video.
I
We
think
need
it
a
could be a
standalone
video.
review.
The
Yeah.
other one and be like, listen.
Oh, we have an alternate opinion. So who knows? Oh my gosh.
I'm done, Maya.
Legitimate tears.
I'm done. Y'all are out of control tonight.
It does sound like it should be lower than 4 stars. I'm like, this sounds more like a 2-star book to me. But
You literally started it with like basically this book killed my family, it kicked my dog, and then you're like, so I gave it 4 stars.
Not y'all coming from Michelle's rating system on a live show.
I'm very confused.
I cried.
Like when we were doing her spread, she was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars," and I was like, "Okay." Michelle's like, "I read it. It's 4 stars. It's fine."
I'll remember that next time.
Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
god.
Wow. All right. So do we want to talk about Drag Me Up some more?
Happily.
Great. How did everybody do with this? Oh, wait. Okay. Because I want you to answer this question, Michelle. What makes a 1-star read for you? Do you rate books 1 star?
I honestly, oh god, I haven't had a 1-star read in quite some time. Like generally, if I'm generally unsatisfied, but I will try to find very few things that I actually liked and be like, this was 3 stars. It wasn't bad, but no, that I don't think I've rated anything a 1 star since like 2020.
Wow.
I generally only try to see the good in things, and that is my toxic trait.
I can honestly relate with that because, like, I don't know. The anxiety is real, and I don't know.
I
I'm
was in a
very
totally
careful.
garbage situation one time,
Mhm.
and this was like a couple months ago, and my friend was like, I love you, but you need this needs to stop. And I was like, that's fair.
Mhm.
I've given out more 1 stars this year than I ever have before. I am like embracing honesty. In my
I need to
reviews
adapt that
this
legacy.
year. Yeah. So we have Drag Me Up. Thoughts? How did y'all do with it? People in the chat, if you read it, how did you do with it? I really liked it. I mean, it's a little outside what I typically read, and like some of the scenes I was like, this isn't like what I would normally pick up, but like that's fine because this is the kind of book it is. And otherwise, I think it's very good.
Y'all could not tell me that threesome was not on point.
It was.
Okay.
It was so good.
Okay.
Because they had me questioning my
but-
whole little life. Like, where's my invitation?
Listen,
I didn't get one.
the only
And I
thing
was
is,
pissed.
could they not have like had a conversation about that being okay before
No, they
it
did.
happens?
With the eyes.
Yeah.
That's all they needed.
It didn't have to be a verbal conversation.
verbal.
Consent is not always verbal.
And I have been there, so I get it. Sometimes you don't need that verbal. Sometimes just you look somebody in your eyes and you're like, huh. And then that's it. That's all you need. No words need to be had.
I mean, they had a conversation physically.
Their bodies were talking.
Their bodies were
Body
saying a lot.
language.
And Hades said
True.
that. Like, Persephone didn't need to say anything.
Mm-hmm.
The way she communicated with both of them with her body was enough because she knew what she was going into.
And she knew what she was going to do to the other two. And that's
Exactly.
It was stunning. Absolutely
It was
stunning.
so good.
Mm-hmm.
That was the peak book of the week. Was that?
But it was also like the sweet way that Hades is written. Like, Hades is such a cupcake.
He is. Yes.
I'm very here for the cinnamon roll Hades that we're getting right now in retellings. I'm like, yes, please, thank you.
Yes.
Like,
I don't know.
this
I'm
is
very
the kind
pleased
of like
about
Greek
that.
myth retelling I want, where it's like Zeus is framed as the motherfucker that he actually is,
Yes.
and Hades
Yes.
is actually portrayed as like the person who guides lost souls. Like, that's a noble thing to do.
Yes.
That doesn't get venerated enough in Greek mythology. So for RM Virtues to like right those wrongs in this retelling of this Hades Persephone's dynamic was like, this is what I want. This is what I want when I say Greek retelling.
Yes. I also loved that Persephone is sometimes sometimes is also being more dominant and like saying what she wants. And I like, because that's the biggest issue with the original is that Persephone doesn't have like the word is now escaping me. There's agency. Thank you. That is exactly the word I wanted. Yes, agency. And so I love seeing a Persephone who has that, and they're negotiating what that looks like in a relationship.
I agree.
I agree. I definitely agree that I am here for what I feel like is a more accurate depiction of Zeus. Because Zeus is an ass.
He is.
Absolutely.
He's an ass. And he's often portrayed in a light that I just never have felt like it's wild, because even with Percy Jackson, I'm like, yeah, Zeus is just really not that great.
He is garbage rat.
He's horrible. So to see kind of that portrayed in this book, I definitely agree. Like, I love that. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's not like it was understated. It was just outright in the first chapter that he is the villain of the story, well, one of the villains, if you will. And that was nice to see. It was nice, especially since Hades is described as a dark-skinned black man. And he's just so cute. And Zeus is just like out in space with his nonsense.
And white.
And often described as a tomato, by the way. So I don't think he was white.
No, he was. Well, like no, because he says that he is white, but because of that, his skin's so pale, he like gets angry and it gets red, which I'm just like.
It's also, I guess he's just like either angry or drunk all the time, which is a very interesting, I feel, truthful way to describe Zeus, because he was constantly in some form inebriated and turning himself into animals and doing things. So yay for him, live your truth, but let's let Hades have his shine now.
Yeah. It was very satisfying to see him get his comeuppance.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the ending payoff was like, yes, thank you. I wanted this. I needed this.
Yes. Also, that it was such a satisfying ending. Like, I just can't get over the fact that this book was so well done. Like, I'm jealous.
And it's a debut.
Jealous.
Like,
I'm jealous. Give him his coins.
Yes. Can we talk about how the safe word was pomegranate?
Loved it.
Line.
If y'all can't tell, I was here for all the filth.
Yes.
I mean, same. I was like, this is the perfect use of the safe word.
Don't take your hands off that countertop. You had that belt in your mouth. I said, oh.
Yes, Zaddy. And it's like hard for, I don't know about everybody else in here, it's hard for me to not give a little giggle during some spice scenes like in books.
Always.
Yeah, because it's like sometimes it's silly. But these were really well written to the point where I was like blushing. I'm sitting on my couch like, I live alone. Who am I hiding it from? Like
Listen, I was reading some of this on live reading sprints, so I was like,
I did too. I was worried. I have a better poker face than I thought because I read some things live.
I was like, Bethany, were you bright red at the end of that? Because, whoo, like I warned you. I was like, this is going to be a lot more than you're used to.
Well, I've read stuff. I mean, I have read stuff like this before. It's not like the first time I've read
I know, but
it's just not like what I read all the time.
I don't usually read it live.
I don't usually read it. That is true.
See, I'm kind of too technical sometimes because I'll be like reading a scene and I'm like, wait, how does that he like I'll be like moving
the leg was where?
And then when I finally figured it out, I'm like, oh, that must
I have drawn.
I mean, she is an acrobat, so like, you know,
the flexibility was real.
Mm-hmm.
But he was also doing bending, so you know
what? They 100% should have done a scene in the air with the silks.
That's really difficult.
That
as
was
someone
like
who's done aerial.
Okay, but it doesn't have to be realistic, and I feel like it was a missed opportunity.
Listen, if you can have fairy sex, you could do just about anything in a book.
Right.
You know,
it should have been like on a trapeze.
Tentacle sex,
you know?
Okay, all right. Because we have sex with tentacles and mermaids, and aerial sex is pretty vanilla at this point.
I mean, it is kind of tame. I'm not going to deny this.
It is, right? Thank you. I'm not lying here. It is pretty tame.
Just a little tame, just a tiny bit. Just a little tame. Like, kind of like being like, oh, I tied her up. Okay. You tied her hands up?
That's an example of it not being done well, Renee. That was terrible. Thank you.
I still haven't read that book because all I know about it is that there's like a war and they make whoopee during the war, but that would be distracting for me. So I don't know.
Call it whoopee?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
Make whoopee.
Make whoopee. Now I have never make whoopee. Poor whoopee. Poor the actual whoopee.
I shan't be judged.
Oh my gosh. What? Okay. All right.
I haven't found that one yet. I found the potato book. I did find a potato shapeshifter.
Oh,
that's
what?
A what?
A potato.
A what? A potato.
Well, I don't know how I felt after you read the Easter Bunny one. So.
Oh, you should read that one. It's really good.
What is that?
Oh, Neeks!
I beg, reprieve.
I thought the same thing, Meg. I was like,
Have you not heard this terminology? It is very like, I don't know, like something someone in their 60s or 70s would say.
Really? It's a thing? Like, it's
Oh
really
yeah.
a term?
Oh yeah.
It's really a term. Make whoopee. Yeah, but it's like something someone in like their 60s or 70s would say. It's
It
not
was on
like
that show, the marriage game show or something.
Sprayed along the lines with hanky panky.
yes.
Nah,
yes.
I know I heard the hanky panky. But whoopee.
Make whoopee.
Make
Yep,
whoopee.
That's yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Meeks,
I
where is
shan't
your
be done.
TARDIS?
I like to hide it under my bed. It just I just thought more people would know of this term, and now I feel silly.
No, I knew it
Listen,
from the
it's good.
70s newlywed game. Thank you. That's there you that's
Yeah.
there you go.
See, I was like, it's from that game, that show on TV.
It's like throwing us back. Hell yeah. I'm the grandma here now. I'm your granddaddy. Yeah, it's like a term you would hear at an old lady tea party, where they'd be like, me and Frederick had whoopee last night.
Wow. Wow.
Just educating the children.
Thank you. Let's see. Alex or Tamika? I haven't heard as much from y'all.
Not Bethany playing teacher.
I really like.
And we're on
I
a Zoom
am
call.
a parent, so
Y'all have anything to share?
I'm gonna share with the class.
No gold star for you.
Listen, I don't want people to feel left out just because they don't feel like, inserting themselves into a conversation.
I really liked Persephone. I really thought she was such a good character. Like, actually, I've never read a Hades and Persephone before, so this was my first. So, like, I was telling Michelle that I was so glad that I was reading it on my ebook, like on my Kindle, because then I could just tap and it would tell me, which actually really helped me out. But I actually didn't think that I would like it as much as I did. But I thought it was like a little slow, but I don't know if that was just me because I started it on Thursday and I finished it today. So that was something. But I really thought that the writing was good too. Like there was like so many quotes that I saved. Like there was one that I really loved that was I don't want to be brave, I want to be seen. And I just love that because first Stephanie was like, okay, but like just because I'm like a trans woman and he's going to be with me, that's literally the bare minimum. Like that's what you should be doing anyway. So like I was like, I'm here for that.
Love it.
Literally opened my eyeballs and it is just text from Alex. Oh my god, this. Oh my god, that. I'm like, yes.
We got to the threesome and I just sent a picture of myself and I was like, oh.
And I was like,
That's great.
I think we can all agree that was just a brilliant scene.
it's a really good book. I really enjoy how soft Hades is. Like
Yeah.
just that just fulfilled the whole thing.
Yes.
I think it's definitely a good balance of like the sweet softness, that comfort that you get through their dynamic, and then also the intense, sexual chemistry that exists between them.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find like some romance books do not do very well at balancing that. And I can read a book that's just straight filth because that's just me as a person. But I think that is also a talent to be able to balance those two things and not be heavy-handed with either, and create a work that just it comes out like this. Like that takes talent. And I've really, really appreciated that because, I'd have one moment where I was like, oh man, it's thought I had the air conditioning on. And then another moment where it's just like, I'm about to cry my eyes out. But it was just the relationship was just so healthy and they gave each other comfort. It had that found family feeling to it that it just made it beautiful, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if I could hop on in that, I think what contributes to that feeling of balance that Ashley was just talking about is that the erotic scenes tie in thematically and so perfectly with everything else going on in the relationship outside of the physical aspect. Because if you'll notice, a lot of like the sexual scenes have to deal with the dynamic of control, which is something that both Hades and Persephone are explicitly struggling with in other areas of their life. Like how Hades is struggling with how controlled he is by this promise he made to help or protect his brother Zeus or whatever. He feels like some sort of obligation there that Zeus exploits through him, and like that's how he's being controlled. And then Persephone is being controlled by her mother Demeter. So it's like there's all these other sprinkles of the ways they struggle with control outside of their sexual relationship, that when they get to actually actively play with it in their physical dynamic, that's what makes it feel like this is all connected. It's not just sex for the sake of sex. That's how I felt, which I thought it would be because I don't read a lot of erotic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think one of the things I appreciated about it too is I've sometimes read things where it has this kind of erotica that bleeds into creating toxic dynamics in the relationship outside of the bedroom. And so I really appreciated that this did not do that, where they had a really healthy relationship, they had good communication and respect for each other, and it wasn't like things were in the proper places, I guess. That's how I would say it.
I agree. It was nice to see them play with this element of submission in a healthy way versus the submission they were forced to either take or give at all points of their life, just like Audrey said. So
yeah, I agree.
There's just a lot of skills that went into the creation of this book, to be honest with you. And I'm sad that I've waited this long to read anything by RM.
Same.
But I mean, it was for me, I think just how everything just worked together. It was a good book, y'all. It's definitely got to be one of my top reads for the year, somewhere in there, because there's just so many things that work so well, and so many things, like if you pay very, very close attention to like how everything ties together and works together, it's the literary skill behind it as well, not just like not just the story itself, but the actual craft of writing is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it like shows such a love for the craft. And I think that's what ultimately made that book. It took it from being a good story to being the reason why we're sitting here swooning over several characters. So it's just like I said, I'm jealous. There's a skill level there that I don't even think RM recognizes. So,
it's really good.
Amazing.
I also really loved his take on Dionysus because, like often he's portrayed more as this kind of like drunk, foolish kind of, I don't know, like a lush sort of, I guess. And I really liked this portrayal where he's more of this creative sort, where it's like whether it's having a winery or putting on a show, I don't know, I really liked that, and I loved Dio as a character, so I'd be interested in reading his book.
I agree. I loved it. What was the other? Yeah, usually Dionysus is like portrayed as, and feel free to correct me, but typically he's portrayed as like Caligula for some reason, and I just don't agree with that.
And so, I thought you were going to say like a floozy, which
I mean, yeah,
that
I can be fine with, but I don't like when people are like Dionysus was Caligula, but a god. Like that's the reason Caligula is because he was a terrible person.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was really well done. I'm so glad it was a hit because I hadn't actually read it. I just wanted to and thought it would be appropriate. So I'm glad it was so good.
I have another thought that I can't claim because somebody said it in my live reading sprints. But one of the things I also really liked about the romance was that a lot of the conflict was external as opposed to internal. So like a lot of the things that they were up against, it wasn't because of anything they were going through together. Like there wasn't like the miscommunication trope or like we're keeping secrets from each other, like anything.
Right.
There wasn't a third act breakup. Like that's like for RM Virtues to like eschew all of those things all in one go is like kind of wild. Like I was reading, I was like a third of the way through when I was doing my live reading sprints, and I was like, I don't know, like Persephone's keeping a secret and it's probably gonna come back to bite her in the ass, and like it's gonna be the third act breakup. Like I can see it now, and it's like non-issue.
Yeah.
Like they just tell each other what they're
they communicate.
going through.
Yeah. It's Yes.
So I like that. I like that what they were going through together as like a united front, as opposed to like them secretly dealing with their own turmoil and then it coming back to reflect on their relationship and cause problems.
Yeah.
I also I just found it really comforting how openly like queer it was, and in like all kinds of ways. Like I don't know, I feel like you don't often get to walk into a book where you're just like, oh, like everybody is something in the identity almost. Like I feel like you're the weird one in the book if you aren't. Almost, it's just like it was so nice because it just like was there. It wasn't, you know, like it should be in real life. Unfortunately, it's not like, right? But I was just like, oh, I love when we get a world like that.
Yes. It felt very safe.
It did.
Also, in fairness, like it would have been very weird for it to be anything other because the Greeks were so fucking queer. So like,
I know it would be.
To do anything else would have been wild.
Right. That's true.
But like so many people make very like cis-centric Greek retelling books, right? So it was just like, not that I expected anything less from Art and Virtues by any means, but I was just like, yes, okay, this is very comfortable. Like I'm not walking into a landmine where I'm gonna be like, oh, wait, why did you say that? And then you're just like, oh no, this is bad.
Yep.
So if anyone wants to do a readathon for all of Arm's books, totally down. Totally down.
I want to read more. It was, it's really good. We have a question. Are there any books you did not get to that you still want to read, even though the readathon is over?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like all of us probably, yes.
Does
anybody have? Yeah. I mean, I have so many, but
my whole TBR.
Exactly.
Like everything I read is pretty much queer. So like I'm literally just sitting here. I have Jay's Gay Agenda. That's on my TBR. What's behind my computer? Hold on. Oh, look. Another one.
Oh, that one's so good.
Stop everything and read that book now, Dylan. Now.
I wanted to read it for the readathon, but I like my work week is crazy, and I just it's a long book, and I was like, oh, I don't know. But I want to read it.
But it's so good. It's really good.
I know everyone loves it. I really want to read it.
It's really great.
And then I'm sorry, I have another one. I'm also gonna read Delilah Green Doesn't Care too this month. So
I want to read it. I'm waiting for audio hold to come through.
Yeah, I'm waiting for 8 weeks
to actually read it.
Yeah, but I'm gonna read my physical copy probably because I need to finish it this month. So
I love it. Anybody else have something that they still like really want to read? Yes, read a lady.
I wanted to read Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding. What did you think of it?
I did. So I liked it. I think the reality TV show thing is really interesting, and there was a lot that I liked about like the diversity in their characterization and stuff. I would say like two things though. One is, and this is going to be personal preference, whether this bothers you or you like it in books. They do a lot of like intense PDA in front of their families, which made me really uncomfortable. And then they also like get it on in a semi-public place and someone like happens upon them, which also makes me really uncomfortable. But some people like that. So like heads up.
I don't know if I'm down for
And
the second-hand embarrassment, but it sounds like it's worth a shot.
Fabulous.
embarrassment, but it sounds like it's worth a shot.
I'm
I
like
mean, yeah.
inching up the TBR list.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, that's going to be a pro or con depending on your taste. And I guess my only thing is, and I don't know, because I listened to the audiobook and I felt like I wanted more differentiation between the internal narration of the two characters, but I can't tell if that was the audiobook or the writing. I'm not sure. So I guess those would be my things. But otherwise, there was a lot that was really good about it. So
I have a stack beside me that I'm hoping to get to before the month is over with. I don't know if anybody's read Magical Boy.
I started it.
I need to start that one. Let's talk about Love. Love Me for Who I Am, Volume 2. Finding Joy.
yeah.
Meet Cute Club.
Oh yes, so good.
Yeah.
And
that
then
one.
Milo and Marcus at the End of the World. So hopefully by the end of the month, we'll see what happens.
Well, since y'all are here, maybe you can tell me if these are good choices. I found them on Scribd, and they were on my list to listen to. How do people, if you read them, just let me know what you thought here. How to Find a Princess by Alyssa Cole. Nobody? Okay.
I've heard mixed things about that one. I haven't read it yet because that's how mixed I've heard.
I would just say that her new series reads more towards women's fiction than romance. Like, I'm used to it being more focused on the romance and like steamier, faster, and she seems more interested in character growth arcs in those books than the romance. So I guess just like, which is different from her earlier stuff.
Yeah.
So
okay, that's fair. We must allow artists time to grow. How about Ever After by F.T. Lucans?
So This Is Ever After? The book So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lucans?
So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lucans.
Yes, 5 stars. Yes. High fantasy, low stakes, bottle episode of a bunch of queer friends in a castle trying to find a soulmate to break a curse. Like, please read it today.
Okay.
That's high on my TBR.
Gonna be listened to today. The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School.
Yes.
Hell yes.
I want to read that one.
That's also on my list for this month.
I need to. I
plan on reading that too.
One of my favorites from last month. I stand by that book. It was so fucking good.
So good.
Oh my god. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm glad I bought this list in. In Deep Waters, also by F.T. Lucans.
Yes.
Very good.
I want to read that one.
I've seen mixed reviews about this one.
Wait. That's because everyone says it's about queer pirates. Everyone, listen to me now. That book is not about queer pirates. There are pirates who kidnap a prince. I don't know their sexual orientation, but they are not the story. They are not the story. It is a fairy tale retelling. I don't want to say which fairy tale, but it is a fairy tale retelling in a queer normative fantasy world. It is not about queer pirates. Stop making recommendations video where you're like, if you like Our Flag Means Death, read In Deeper Waters. No, don't do that. They're like literally on a ship for 5 minutes, maybe. That's it.
You're not gonna get what you're hoping for.
Yeah, I'm talking about mismarketing, Bethany. Like this, that's like, I don't know who started that, but they need to be fired.
Yeah. That is the best warning ever, though, because I've seen this book so much for if you loved Our Flag Means Death.
Yes,
I was like,
it's so wrong. I mean, not wrong because they're both satire, but like in the pirates' respect.
It's probably because this is what the cover. Wait, where am I here? Okay,
yeah, the
it's
cover.
probably
I know. Yeah, they're on a ship.
Yeah, the
I don't
cover
know
does.
why.
Yeah. That was the
It was a choice.
marketing
I
team.
did not
Yeah.
completely care for the Charm Offensive Meeks
Okay.
for representation purposes because
Yes.
I felt like the love interest was made Indian for the sake of being made Indian, and there were no defining traits. And honestly, when I read it, I forgot that he was until his parents came in at the very end. So it felt like diversity for the sake of diversity.
I've heard that.
And so I was not, it was a solid story. I think I still gave it like a 3.5, but it was not as mind blowing as maybe some people have made it out to be. But that's just my personal take on it.
No, that's pretty much what I keep hearing, which is why I have
Yes.
not put that at the top of the list,
Yeah.
So I think I'll start with the other books then, especially Lesbianas.
Mm.
So yeah.
Want
I
to get
need
that
to
one
get
too.
that one.
It was
Being
so
slept on.
good. Y'all don't understand.
Criminally being slept on.
It was so freaking
good.
good. It was so.
Sony
It's
has no
that
business
one
being
in
that good.
Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl that I literally just finished last month that I want to pick up again
Wow.
and
Okay.
read again.
Okay.
And y'all know for me, like that's a huge thing. If I want to reread a book right away, it's a good book. Yeah.
It's high praise.
Wow.
I started The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kahn. I'm nervous because I went and read Ashley's review and I was like, no, am I not going to like this?
I just
No.
feel like the pacing was not. I think the discussion about the spectrum of being ace was
Mhm.
very, very much needed.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that we're seeing that in a romance book. But the issue that I have is that our main character is caught up with someone who's not her love interest
Mhm.
for 75 to 80% of the book. So it's kind of like a Michelle situation where it was
Yeah.
like, we're friends, and all of a sudden let's get together. And I'm like, wait, hold on, I'm confused. Like
Yeah.
this
Mhm.
so the pacing, it was solid. It wasn't a bad read, but I feel like there was a slight missed opportunity there when it
Mhm.
came to the overall
Mhm.
structure of the book.
I
Mhm.
didn't see that. I mean, I plan on finishing it. I've got it on audio, so it won't take me long. The other one that I want to read that was on my TBR I didn't get to was The Companion by E.E. Ottoman. This is a polyamorous romance set in 1949. And it's this girl that goes out to this, like, the country, and like she lives in New York City and she drives, like, rides a train, not drives, out to the country. And I just started it and it's already like kind of spooky, like not like super scary vibes, but like the house is a little weird. And I'm very curious to see where we move into it. Like I literally started it last night and then fell asleep. But yeah, that's the only other one that's like super high on my like read now.
Ashley, we had a question. Oh, okay, you got it up here. Great. Cool.
That one does not have queer representation in it. It focuses on the role that purity culture has played in the Black community specifically.
Mm.
And the author, Joya Goffney, I think this is their second book, but they do a great job without shying away from having like a very direct conversation, which I think is definitely going to be powerful for the target audience. And even though I didn't have to deal with purity culture, there were conversations that were not being had in the household that I wish I would have had growing up. So it was well done.
Interesting. I read this before the readathon, but one I just wanted to mention because I really liked it was The Secret Life of Albert Entwistle by Matt Cain, which I think is actually one of the picks for the Libra FM audio influencer stuff this month. And it's about a closeted gay British postman who is being forced into retirement for his 65th birthday. And his whole life is like being a postman and his cat. And he like doesn't know what he's going to do, but he ends up deciding to track down the boy he fell in love with when he was a teenager. And like it's really good. It is sometimes really sad. The cat dies early on and there's like grief. So like I know people have issues with animal death, so heads up. And it does talk about like homophobia in the UK and how gay people were treated in the 70s and 80s and like AIDS and stuff like that. So like it has some heavier stuff, but it's also really cozy and sweet a lot of the time. It has a great like friendship he has with a young single mom, and like it's really very good. And I think partly a project of wanting to highlight this queer history of the UK that's not always talked about. And at the end, there's transcripts of interviews from gay men who were living through the 70s and 80s in the UK, which are really interesting as well. So I really liked that.
Has anyone else read Where We Go From Here by Lucas? I don't want to say their name wrong. Is it Rota?
Oh, I've read it. I really liked it.
Okay, I haven't found. I randomly stumbled
Yes.
upon it. Okay, you've read it too. Okay,
Mhm.
I randomly. This is not something that I read this month. It was last month, but I randomly stumbled upon it last month at the library. Just randomly, like I'm supposed to be doing my job, and the issue with working in a library is that you go shopping while you're supposed to be doing your job. So I was just in the teen center, and I was like, this looks interesting. It's translated.
Great.
And it focuses on 3 young men they're in Brazil, correct?
Yes.
And 2 of them have tested positive for HIV. One has had HIV for a few years. One just gets at the beginning of the book is just testing positive, and then there's a third character that was in a relationship with one of the guys that tested positive for HIV, and it's told in their alternating perspectives. And I thought it was a very, very, very interesting. I've really enjoyed it. So if anyone's interested in checking that one out, that's another rec. Yeah.
I started I started like a chapter of Not My Problem by Sarah Smith, and then I also haven't gotten into this yet, but like it has a mechanic in it, so that part was interesting to me. So these are the 2 I'm trying to finish this month at least.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, I feel like I've just been reading so many queer books this year. Like way more than my goals are to read, which isn't like I'm not upset about, but yeah, it's just becoming a bigger and bigger part of my reading.
I'm just glad that there's so many available.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm, for those who don't know, I'm 31, but I knew I was bisexual when I was 6, But this wasn't something I was going to find in a book of people talking about, like, it's not being half lesbian, half straight. It's just I'm bisexual.
Yeah.
Even at like my conservative library, it's like living in South Dakota, and then like you go to the library and it's like, oh my gosh, there's actually queer books on the shelves. Like, what?
Yeah. Which is huge. Yeah, and I think books have been really helpful for me because like I didn't realize like I was like 30 before I realized I wasn't straight, and then I was like, "Oh, that was dumb. I should have realized it."
All of this makes sense now.
Like
It's
so
fun to,
many
look
things
back
make
on your
sense.
crushes as a kid, and then you're like,
Yes.
oh.
I'm like,
For me, it was like
okay.
any feminine member of the Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Neeks is like, oh.
Yeah.
I really liked Xena Warrior Princess.
That was helpful.
That's the one. That'll do it.
But yeah, no, so it's been interesting. Well, and then now I'm just glad there's so much more available because like one of my kids is gender nonconforming, and so having kids books available for that process is huge.
Yes.
And yeah, so
let us give praise to all these authors.
Yes.
Which are just, people our age who are writing for people who were once not, once younger. So they have the help that we didn't have,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Go millennials. Yay.
Yeah. I am kind of curious about this. I loved this book actually last year.
I did too. I really enjoyed it.
I am enjoying it. I think it's good so far. For anyone who doesn't know, it's about it's a sports romance basically between like the star of the basketball team and the head cheerleader, and they get into like a car accident after a big game, and so like they have to start carpooling with each other, and things happen, and then they start like fake dating so they can climb their way up the social ladder and all that fun stuff. So it's good. I like the shenanigans so far. It does have quite a few Harry Potter references though, for anyone wondering, because the main character is a redhead, and there's very creative references made about that. So just be warned about that. But no, I am enjoying it so far. I am reserving judgment about the setup of the fake dating though, because the main character is actually paying the head cheerleader to fake date her. So I'm like, usually like I don't need that kind of incentive when it comes to fake dating, and like money presents a very specific kind of power dynamic that I'm not sure if the story is quite respecting properly. So I'm like, especially because the main character is white and the love interest is Indian American. So I'm like, there's something going on there that I don't know if it's going to be addressed or resolved. So I'm like holding out judgment on that until I see it all the way through. But overall, it is very delightful. I'm listening to the audiobook. It's an easy listen, and it's good so far. It's fun.
I have a question. Is it also funny, perhaps? Because I'd like some comedy.
Yeah, it's definitely like a rom-com. Like that's where it lives. So there's a lot of like shenanigans and like a friend group that has like a lot of like humor between them and that kind of stuff. So yes, it is fun and enjoyable and funny.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what you think. I liked how I liked the choices that it made in how it like towards the end. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Neeks, I think you're frozen. Okay. You're back. You're back. Can you see us? Oh no. Can you hear me?
Cliffhanger, we'll never know.
I can see her now, but like I don't I can't hear you. Oh no. Oh my gosh.
Seriously, because like I have like a book club on my Patreon, and it's bi-monthly, and we read LGBTQ plus books. I picked Claire Kahn's sophomore novel to read. It's like If It Makes You Happy or something.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I always give trigger warnings for all the books, and I looked every review, and one of my patrons told me that it had Harry Potter references, and I had no idea because nobody put it in their review. So then I was like, oh, do we really want to read this? Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like it's getting so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I
saw that they're taking them out of some books though.
Yeah,
after
I heard that
like second printings,
too.
and I was like, interesting. We're realizing this now. But I'm like, it drives me bonkers because like kids.
Yeah.
The age group they're writing for would have read like Percy Jackson too. Like, come on, there's better options.
Yeah, I have the same problem with like TikTok videos that it's still trendy on TikTok, and I'm just like, why? I don't understand.
It is so heavy on TikTok that it's just like, nope, scroll.
Yeah, not interested every single time. The first mention, I'm like, nope.
Let it go, y'all. Let it go.
Yeah. And I think that is so interesting because I give content warnings for every single thing I read, and I will include HP references as a content warning. And I always get questions like, why do you include that? Like, why does it matter? That's not a trigger. It's not a content warning. It's like, well, when it stops hurting people and when the author and her platform stops actively attacking and hurting and negatively impacting very real lives, then maybe I'll stop using it as a content warning. But like for me, like it's not like I don't even get necessarily like heavily triggered by it myself, but like it does trip something in me every single time it comes up because it's like, okay, I thought it was safe here, and now I don't feel safe. So it's like if that's what it's like for me, I'm sure there are people who have like even more visceral reactions to it. So like this is just my plea. If you give content warnings in your reviews, whether they're written or they're video or anything, include HP references because they do actively hurt people who are reading them, especially when they don't know to expect it. So that's all that content warnings are, is that sort of like verbal nod, like, hey, heads up, know that you can expect this so that you can decide how and if you engage with it. So it's like, if that's too big of an ask for you, then maybe don't put reviews on the internet.
It's like asking for a salad and getting green beans, and you're like, I didn't want this at all.
Oh, no worries, Neeks. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, I do think, I don't know, hopefully there will be less of it. But
it costs $0.00 to just not put it in there.
Or there's been like books that like I've read that will like mention it, but then they'll be like, well, the author did this and so it's bad, and then like they keep going, and I'm just like, this is not the point.
That
This
doesn't
is
Can we
literally
just
not the
read
point.
the book?
Yeah. That's so interesting. Huh. Yeah. Well, thankfully, I think there are more people who are doing less of it. And I guess the thing is too, is if you get outside of YA, there's less, like, because that's really where you see it, is it's all YA.
Which
Yeah.
is interesting because, like Izzy was saying, like that's not even a lot of young people's main pop culture reference anymore.
No.
So like I don't know why it's so prevalent.
Right.
It's just like authors just
It's
hanging
weird.
onto it like with a death
Well,
grip.
Yeah.
We see it in romance though too. They'll reference like 80s movies, and I'm like, this main character was born in like 1999. They did not watch an 80s movie. Like, I mean, I'm not saying they didn't, but it's not their pop culture reference point. Like, or like that they were obsessed with Sex in the City. I'm like, they were 5. They were not
Who's
obsessed with
watching
that
Sex
show.
in the City
Yeah.
at age 16? That's like the most horrible show you could possibly. It's gonna be a nerve.
Mhm.
I mean, again, it doesn't like it's weird. It's
Yeah.
a weird. I don't know. I don't understand the hang on to that. Like, it was so precious to me, and I'm like, yeah, and I literally got rid of all my crap and was like, we're done. It's not hard.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess I know we've lost a couple people, which is fine. It's a little late for some people too, so that's
Yeah.
part of it. I know Ashley's got to work tomorrow. But this has been really fun. Thanks so much to everybody for joining in, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll do it again next year. We'll see.
I would love that.
I have so many of them on my TBR. It's like it's nice to get.
I mean,
through
I
stuff
vote for
that we
round
need to
2.
read.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
I
same.
vote for round
Yes.
2 as well.
I'd love it.
Okay. Maybe we'll bring it back for 2023.
I did yawn on cue.
It'll be fun. Yeah. I mean, it's a little late. We're up late.
Yeah,
but
I gotta head out too.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Hope you have had fun and have a great night. Happy Pride and have a great rest of your June. We'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah, bye.